I think you really need to hear this, especially if you're looking to have the kind of elevated, joyful, abundant life that I imagine you really desire. A long time ago, a part of you went somewhere and you got so busy managing everything else that most of the time you don't even notice that it's gone, except for that quiet ache, except for that vague sense that something is missing. Let me put a name to that thing that left, that got lost along the way. It's your aliveness, love, your desire, your sense of being fully in your body, okay? In your life, in yourself. And if you're wondering if this part or this is part of why your relationship feels the way that it does, it is. Today, we're going to talk about it. Welcome to another Catalyst conversation for a relationship revolution. Here we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about love, life, and leadership, disrupt the patterns that have been keeping you stuck, and reveal the truths that no one's taught you. Here we activate a new way of leading relationships consciously, courageously, differently, and dare I say, better, so that you can have the relationships and the life that most people only dream about. I'm so glad that you're here. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Now, we are in the month of July, if you're listening as this drops, and this month's series is called Alive in Love, the Serious Business of Joy. And I want to name what this series title is doing because I didn't choose the word serious by accident. The truth is, we have been conditioned to treat joy, aliveness, pleasure, desire as optional, as the reward that comes after you've done enough, produced enough, proven enough. But what I know and what our guests this month are going to help us to excavate is that those things are not extras. They are the infrastructure, okay? Joy is not what you earn when the work is done, love. Aliveness is not what comes back after the kids leave home or the business stabilizes. Aliveness is what makes love possible. And we are going to talk this month about how to reclaim it. And today's conversation is another perfect, brave entry point into that conversation. And I am so thankful that you are here for it. And before we get further into the conversation, let me take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who are new to me or this work. My name is Dr. Jeni Wahlig, and I am an award winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, intuitive guide, and I'm a relationship revolutionary. My mission is to revolutionize how we think about and go about our relationships, to redefine what it means to love, and to do that so that we can all experience the true power and possibilities that all of our relationships have to offer. Because nothing, truly nothing, impacts the quality of our lives more than the quality of our relationships. And we are in relationship all the time, in every corner of our lives, including relationship with ourselves. Relationships are the foundation of everything else we are trying to build. But most of us have never learned how to do them well, let alone how to do them consciously or relationally. And much of what we have learned not only doesn't work, it also keeps us stuck and unhappy. So, the revolution that I'm about is truly this great global healing through love. It's a return from separation into wholeness, a paradigm shift in the way that humanity relates, loves, and leads, starting at our most intimate levels. And in these catalyst conversations, my goal isn't just to give you insight, it's to wake something up within you so that you may be part of this revolution too. Now, our guest today has been doing some of the most honest, necessary work in the space of liberation, embodiment, and collective transformation. And I have been so looking forward to this conversation. Robin Nussbaum, known to many as Doc Rob, is a PhD social psychologist, speaker, educator, and organizational development consultant whose work lives at the intersection of sexual liberation, justice, and what it means to be fully human. They have spent 2 decades helping individuals, communities, and organizations unpack the shame that systems that that disconnect us from our bodies, our desires, and each other, right? Robin is the co-founder of We Do HR Solutions and a founding member of Sexual Liberation Collective, a project dedicated to reclaiming pleasure, relational safety, and embodied humanity as not just nice to haves, but as essential components of healing and liberation. Robin, my friend, welcome to Catalyst Conversations for a Relationship Revolution. I'm so glad that you are here.
Hi, thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm glad to be here too.
So let's start like right at the title of this conversation. When you talk about reclaiming desire, what did we actually lose? What did we stop like, or what did we disconnect from in our bodies, in our aliveness? What took us out of that? And then, how do we get it back?
Well, that is my work, basically. So, yes, what took it away from us? Well, first of all, I just like your opening to this whole conversation, and the whole purpose of these podcasts is like so aligned with what I'm talking about, right? This
Yeah.
thing that we do probably unconsciously, but not voluntarily, very
Mhm.
particularly, where we are taught to pull away from our sense of aliveness, from our sense of self, from knowing. And it
Mm.
is, I believe, systems of oppression and domination that are doing this to us. So part of this work for me is that I believe sexual liberation needs to be a central component of how we fight oppression and
Mm.
domination. And that is because, well, it's complicated. There are many things. One, because one of the main ways that systems enforce oppression is through control of our bodies. Think
Mhm.
about the legal, laws right now, overturn of Roe v. Wade, uh, the way women are um, abused in war, or over taking of a space, um, and the way our bodies are controlled in terms of what we should look like and how we should dress, and do we have hair on our legs or not, right? And
Mhm.
whiteness, right? And the whiteness is a part of that. So that standard of beauty that then everybody else who is not white can't ever get to. Oh yeah, and if you're not
Mhm.
thin and you're not straight and you're not and you're not and you're not, you're never getting there either, right? And
Right.
so and then that is where capitalism layers in, because capitalism is saying, buy all this stuff so that you can get there. But of course, we can't
Mhm.
really. Okay, so that is why it's important. I think the sexual liberation part is um, important because we have to reclaim our bodies. And
Mm.
because my work is founded a lot on an essay by Audre Lorde called Uses of the Erotic, where she talks about how that aliveness, that embodied, truly like intuitive, what we know in our bodies is the fuel of our lives. It
Yeah.
is what makes us alive. And
Mm.
when we get disconnected from it, we are easier to control. We don't have the energy to fight back. And we don't have as much of just being our authentic selves.
Ugh, that is so real and so powerful. And I want to like just like pause and highlight that, y'all. Robin, you're saying something that I don't think most people have ever heard, but is a paradigm shift that creates so much liberation, which is the idea that like the connection to our bodies, to ourselves, the aliveness that we can access, that it is our birthright to be feeling. But that
Yep.
these systems of power and oppression and control, which which are operating, whether they are advantageous to us or not, still take us away from this. But that this aliveness is our fuel. It's the fuel that is going to support us in creating everything else that we actually desire to experience and create in our lives.
That's right. Yep.
That's huge. And it speaks to how important, this is why I call this the serious business of joy, because it's not an option. That aliveness is not an option. The aliveness is essential.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Which is why I think sexual liberation is core, because if we
Yeah.
can't get back to our aliveness, we're not going to be very successful.
Hmm. Yes. And okay, so you talk about sexual liberation, and I've also heard you say that sexual liberation isn't entirely about sex.
Yeah.
Can you help our listeners understand like what that means? Like you're calling it sexual liberation, but we're not talking about just, 60s style free sex, right? Like
Free love. Woo.
like,
Correct.
that's
We are not.
what like kind of where parts of my brain go when I think about sexual freedom or sexual liberation is like, certainly permission for women to experience pleasure and to know and seek the type of sexual experiences and partnerships that we want, rather than following the paradigm and the script that's set out by heteronormativity and primarily men's sexuality, the typical men's sexuality. But there's more to it than
Yeah,
that, than
much more.
just yeah. So can you say more about that?
Absolutely. So the premise of Audre Lorde's uses of the erotic is that the erotic really is that internal joy, that internal aliveness, that connection we have to our true self. And I often ask people to think about a time where you really were in just the best, most wonderful joy of your life.
Mm,
And
what
what
a happy
do you,
question.
what's that?
I said, what a happy question.
And what do you feel? And what do you notice like, about how you feel and in your body? Very
Mm,
often it's like, I feel aligned. Everything I believe in is, I mean, lots of people will be like, oh, being with my family, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, but go deeper. Like, what does it actually feel like?
mhm,
It often is, I feel aligned. I feel authentic. I feel like some people talk about a bubble of energy or a flame of energy, right? Coming up through me.
mhm,
That's what Audre Lorde calls the erotic. Now,
mm,
I feel like we are a little less likely to freak out if I call it sexual instead of erotic energy.
yeah,
um, but I do know that sexual liberation still does make everybody think of sex. It's just, I
mhm,
think, slightly less likely that we'll think of maybe porn
mm,
if
yeah,
I use sex instead of erotic. But basically, she is saying that anything that brings you that inner joy, that
mhm,
full alignment, where your body feels that good,
mhm,
is the erotic and is our aliveness and is
mm,
that fuel for our fire. So she
yeah,
calls that energy erotic.
got it.
But she does talk about anything else bringing you joy brings you there to
Yeah.
that erotic.
What the language that's coming into my mind as you're talking, Robin, is like life force energy.
Yes, life force. Yes,
Life force
I
energy.
knew I was missing a word. I couldn't pull it up.
And, like, I think that, to be fair, if you were to use, life force liberation, people would have no fucking idea what you're talking about, and they wouldn't lean in and listen up. But what I gotta share with you is because I'm finding this so interesting, but also so telling and so on point to what it is that you're saying. So I identify as someone on the asexual spectrum, okay,
Mhm.
as gray sexual, or as Cal, my partner, says cal sexual, which I think is adorable and appropriate.
Very.
But even with him, I don't often experience, in my sexual response system, the desire to get down, right? Sexually. But when you asked me that question, to think about one of the most joyous times of my life, and I have a moment, I have a memory that was like one of those peak experiences where everything felt like perfect, and I was connected to the universe, and I just knew that life was beautiful and always working out with for me, and like my spirit felt expansive, and it's joyful for me every time I just can like go to that place and connect to it. And when I did that just briefly in the few moments of that conversation, and it wasn't long because I went there and then I came back to listening to you, but I felt that life force energy in my body. And I bring up my sexuality because what I felt was such an overwhelming sense of joy and expansiveness that it's like my chest wanted to explode. And there was something in me that was like, I either want to start giggling erratically or start crying or just fuck my brains out because I have all of this energy in my body, this life force energy, and I want to share it, I want to release it, I want to live it. And for someone like myself who doesn't often connect to sexual energy, so to speak, feeling like noticing that moment of joy connects me to a desire even for sexual connection is huge. So thank you for that. And thank you
You're
for sharing that. And I hope that those of you who are listening, like you're getting this, like how much the reconnection to our erotic energy, our life force energy, our liberated, like embodied self energizes our life and makes our life. Because what I mean, isn't joy, isn't how like feeling good in our bodies and about our lives and feeling excited about our days, isn't that what we're all after in everything that we're trying to do?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm really glad it landed that way for you. And I'm really pleased you brought up asexuality, gray sexuality, because I do want everybody to understand this is for everybody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter about how sexy, and I mean like how much sex you have by that you
Yeah.
are or not, right? And you as you were talking, you were saying like I wanted to share it, and I wanted to either giggle or cry. And if you had stopped there, even that would have been so beautiful, right? And then you said,
Mhm.
and it made me feel almost like desire for sex, which I don't feel that often, right? So it would have been
Mhm.
okay for anybody also to still feel that aliveness, that joy, that life
Yes.
force, and still not have it be sexual too. I just want to make sure
Yes.
everybody like knows that for
I appreciate that.
themselves.
And yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, because that's also certainly part of the body scripts that keep us in chains, and definitely chains I've had to do a lot of work to liberate myself from, that our bodies should feel a certain way, or that we should feel a certain way about sex and our
Yes.
sexuality and our sex life. And that like anytime we're in the shoulds, we're getting away from the authenticity of who we be and the
Mhm.
permission to be entirely us in the moment that we're in, however that
Yep.
looks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Now you went through like a personal liberation journey with this, right? That
Yep.
brought you deeper into this work. Can you tell us a little bit about your story, Robin?
Absolutely. And I will say it is an ongoing journey.
Yeah. As
So
all of this is, as all of this is.
yeah, yeah. I was always a great student. I am a very like intellectual being. I have a couple friends that identify as like sapiosexual. It's not exactly the word I use for myself, but it's probably a key part of my like desire.
Okay, and if someone hasn't heard of sapiosexual before, what does that mean?
It means you're not really attracted to like bodies or gender or anything like that. It's more like people's intellect or intelligence or how brainiac they are, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
um, and that's what like a stimulating conversation is what turns them on, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so I would say that is true for me. It's just not the only thing that turns me on, whereas that is more the limited things that turn on some of my friends who identify this way. But anyway, point is, I'm very intellectual. I'm very in my head.
Mhm.
And I even went so far as to get a PhD in social psychology. Like I'm that intellectual.
Uh-huh. I know nothing about
And yeah, mine's social psychology, so not clinical, but you get it.
that. Mhm. Mhm.
And the I would say I was pretty dang disconnected from my body and what things felt like. I can think back to a couple of just like key little stories in my life. I'm actually writing a book about this, so these have come up as I write this book. But about like there was one like partner I had for a while who kind of liked to do dangerous have sex in dangerous places or be edgy about that stuff.
Mhm.
And I think I was kind of turned on by that. And also we started going to like a cemetery and having sex. And I would get this massive side ache, like the kind when you've run too hard or
Yeah.
whatever. And I would just ignore it and push through it and keep going and
Mm.
pretend I wasn't hurting. And, maybe we
How
weren't
many
having
women
sex,
can relate to that when it comes to sex?
right? You just keep going because it's what the
Yes.
other person
Anyway.
wants or because you think you should be doing it. And I'm not saying I was coerced or
Oh, no.
non-consensual in any way, but we do it to ourselves
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's the internal pressure, it's the
Yeah,
internal, like, lack of permission to honor our
exactly.
bodies. But
Yep.
anyways, please continue the
Yeah.
story. I just want to, like, name, like,
No, yeah,
you're not
that's I
alone
mean,
in it.
that's very real. I'm glad you named that. And in addition
Mhm.
to that, it I mean, I just was completely ignoring that my body was sending me a signal, trying almost desperately to tell me this is not okay. And I was just pushing through and ignoring it, right?
Mhm.
And the weird thing is, it happened multiple times at the cemetery,
Wow.
right? Like, not
Mhm.
just not just when, randomly. It was like a
Yeah.
couple times we went and did this, and a couple of times I got a side ache, and finally, like, I don't even know if I realized it at the time, but as I was like digging into writing this book, that memory popped up, and I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God,
Wow.
how disembodied was I that my body had to like manufacture a side ache to try to get me to stop doing something that I wasn't aligned with. Because I
Mhm.
do remember like this maybe is too far. This maybe, but oh,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
and then I still didn't even listen. So I was so disembodied that even causing me a pretty sharp pain was not sufficient to get me to stop doing it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was part of it. I think part of the awakening. Also, I go every year to the National LGBT Task Force's conference called Creating Change. It is a
Nice.
great conference for queer people. I highly encourage everybody to go if you can work it out. They make it fairly affordable as far as conferences go, but it's expensive in any case. Um, but it is awesome because you can attend just a wide range of workshops on all sorts of things from like political organizing to like sexual liberation. There's a whole sex track.
Nice.
And one of these uh, things that I've been to, and then I started being on the faculty of, is a day long institute on, it used to be called desire mapping. And this is
Mm.
where you literally go through a whole day of prompts and reflection and embodiment and
That sounds
thinking
good.
through your desires and writing them down and bringing them in. And that is finally where I started to actually reconnect with my
Mm.
body and that
Mhm.
intuition inside my body. So now
Yeah.
it's very rare that I find myself in a position in a sexual way where I'm not that, where I'm like feeling a little bit of, this isn't working. And if I do, it's very easy to be like, this isn't working. Either we need
Mhm.
to stop entirely or we need to try something else
Mhm.
because this doesn't feel good, right? Or this isn't,
Yeah.
I don't feel right in here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, and I think as you're talking about this idea of, like, taking a whole day to map out our desires, it occurs to me how infrequently I think most people, women certainly, give themselves any kind of opportunity to connect with or even recognize what their desires are.
Yeah.
Like, what do I desire? What does that look like? How do I want that to look? Like, I remember I went to a it wasn't a conference, but it was a meeting in the polyamory community where we did, like, a little workshop on joy and, like, connecting to what brings us joy, and it was hard. It was, like,
Mhm.
hard to remember that, to even know that, because as you named, we get so disconnected from this. We get so swept up in the current of our lives and in the cultural system that doesn't prioritize joy or embodiment, that wants to keep us disconnected from our life force energy because then we're easier to control. And so there's something to paying attention to what your body's signals are when you get them, getting curious about that and starting to actually listen, and, like, setting aside dedicated time to even figure out what your desires are, because you can't get there if you don't know where it is you're trying to go.
Right. Yeah, I have like so many thoughts and they're not all going to come out in a clean way. And I'm probably going to have to prioritize some of them. But I did want to
Right?
say, like, I do think for women especially, but for sort of all marginalized communities, there's a there's a accidental disconnection and an intentional disconnection. The intentional one is not
Mm,
necessarily us doing it to ourselves. It's again those social pressures, the systems of control doing it to us. But
mhm,
like again, for a lot of women, it might not be true for every single one of us, but a lot of us can remember some time in our early childhood where we just had like an intuition that something was good or bad or
mhm,
fun or, oh, I shouldn't go over there. That feels dangerous, right? And
mhm.
when we were young, we sort of trusted it. We listened to it. But
Yeah,
very quickly, we get told basically not to trust our gut, to not trust our intuition. And
right,
now, like one of the things that sometimes people are talking about to women is like, trust your gut, like trust your intuition. If you feel like this is a dangerous situation, do something about that early before it gets harm is caused in
right.
one way or another, right? And it's like we shouldn't have to have ever been telling people that, right? That's something we should have never been, beaten out of us, basically.
Mhm,
So that piece, and then so the intentional is sort of being done to us, and then there is just the busyness of life and the way we get caught up in sort of everything else. And I would not, so I think some of that is this just unintentional not paying attention to ourselves.
mhm,
I still
mhm,
believe capitalism is a part of that because we get caught up in, oh, we have to work and we have to have all the things and buy all the things, right? So
mhm,
it's a little bit still caught up in that, but I think it is a little bit more of our accidental, just like losing sight of things.
mhm.
I've talked to couples too who are like, now that I think about it, we haven't had sex for 3 months. Well, it's just we are so busy or so tired. Well, and then it's okay that you haven't had sex for 3 months, but is that what you want?
Right.
And then they go from there.
Yeah.
The other bit that was really resonating with what you were saying. Oh, see, this is the ADHD brain. It's so many things pinging and now it's gone. But there's something really important about. Nope, I've lost it for now. Ask me another question. It'll come back.
Okay. Um, I think, like, what you're saying about the ways that we both are are kind of kept from this embodied aliveness, this awareness of our intuition, of our desires, and the way that we get swept away, like, is really important to acknowledge, because none of this is about it's it is about us failing as humans in
Yes.
any kind of way, right? There's no
Mhm.
judgment, there's no should. This is just something that we're all kind of subject to, And even in the current of our busy lives, like that is a part of capitalism. That's a part of the way that our culture has been set up, where our value and our ability to succeed is tied to how much we can produce.
Yes.
And so our identity gets tied to that, and there's not systems or structures in place, especially for families, for women, especially if they become mothers, right? To to have that spaciousness
Yes.
when we haven't learned it, when it's not been kind of ingrained into our neural programming so far, and now we're trying to do all the things. Yet I will say that, like, despite these systemic barriers that are very real realities, we are not powerless.
Right.
We can, like, the invitation here in this conversation is to reclaim your right to take that space,
Yeah.
right?
And actually that was the thing that you reminded me of what I wanted to say. May I?
Please do.
Yes. So you had started to mention already this reclaiming desire, or like pausing to think about what is desirable to you. And that's
Mhm.
the other thing I wanted to touch on from that question, and clearly from where you were going with this question as well, which is I think we're sort of so constantly rushing around, taking care of all the things we have to take care of, taking care of our responsibilities. And sometimes we do some self-care. Um, and sometimes that self-care is still not super authentic to what feels good to us, but it's what,
Mhm.
again, we're kind of told should be self-care. It's like, if
Right.
you don't like taking baths, then that is not a self-care thing, right? Or if
Yeah.
you're touch averse, then you don't want a massage, probably,
Mhm.
right? At least if you're that kind of touch averse, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
like, these are things we've sort of normed as like the self-care stuff. But what I would suggest that is a more authentic, true form of self-care is to pause long enough, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself, what do I need right this minute for
Mhm.
myself? Or what
Mhm.
do I want right this minute for myself? So if there's
Mhm.
not a need, which needs to be met first,
Yeah.
then you get to go on to want, desire, etc. And it could literally be, I want to take a nap. It could be, I actually do want to sit down at my computer because I have a story in my head that I want to get out.
Yeah.
It could be, I want to, eat this cookie. Go for it.
Mhm.
Eat the cookie.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't listen to all what everybody else says self-care looks like. Think about what you desire. And
Mhm.
then as you get maybe a little more practiced at that, you can move into like, what do I desire on a bigger scale? Like, what do I
Mhm.
desire in my
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
Right. uh you mentioned the polyamory non-monogamy community, and those that are part of that have a little bit more practice at deciding what their living situation might look like. I just was talking to someone whose partner broke up with them, sort of, but mostly because she wants to live alone.
Mhm.
She's retiring and she wants to live alone.
Mhm.
And that's what she decided was her main desire. Now, it doesn't align with my friends' needs
Mhm.
and desires. And so they're going to have to figure their stuff out. But she got clear on what she wanted. And he has to decide how he wants to interact with that going forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can decide it at the life level. And then I do encourage you, I mean, it can be kind of terrifying, but if you are at all into sexual activities, or the things that lead into sexual activities, sometimes I encourage you to find one of those like checkbox lists and be
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, so kissing, yes, that sounds interesting to me, or nope, I don't want that. And then
Mhm.
or snuggling, I like soft touch, I don't like soft touch, right? You get to say yes, no, or maybe So
Yeah.
every single one of these, and you can list them out. They can be, again, sort of more foreplayish. They can be sexual. They could be kinky. They could be three ways, things like that, up to you. But you get to decide. And then you get to, and if the maybes are like, they may be situation dependent, person
Yep.
dependent, where you are in your life at the moment thing. And also they all
Mhm.
get to change anytime, ever, anytime.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
in that moment, that's what you're saying would be good for you. And it gives you a chance to think about things that you maybe never have. Like
Mhm.
if you've never thought about whether, having your hands pinned above your head while having sex would be interesting or not. Now you
Mhm.
get to think about it and you can say, oh, no, that does not sound good. Or you can be
Yeah.
like, maybe that might be fun. I would
Right.
try that.
Yeah. It's a great
Resource.
idea. It's a great idea for a resource, and a tool that's really easy to find and use for tuning in to our own desires, even beginning that process of asking those questions.
Yep.
And to your point of, like, starting in the moment of now,
Yes.
I really wanna highlight that because I think for women especially, giving ourselves permission to have a desire and to choose that desire, to choose ourselves, to allow ourselves to receive is challenging. The other day, I knew I needed a nap. I needed a nap so bad, but there was so much to do at work, and the kids were gonna be home from school soon. But I've been practicing this myself, right? And so I decided to give myself permission to take a fucking nap, and I did, and it made the rest of my day so much better. And I felt good about myself because I uh, rebelled against that programming that tells me I can't,
Yep.
that tells me I shouldn't, that tells me my well-being isn't as important as the stuff to do,
Yep.
and depletes my like, if I hadn't my resources to do the work in my business, to show up for my kids, to show up for my partner, would have been depleted. My cup would have been empty. And so what can we give if we're not filling it?
That's right. That's right.
Another example that comes up for me as you were talking is just in, like, the what feels good for me. I do not work well in a space of clutter, but somehow my office desk gets messy full of papers all the time. And, like, and I get into my office and I know it's time to sit down and do work, and for for days I've been like, "Oh god, this place is a mess." And then finally I listened to myself and my body and was like, "No, I what feels good to me," and this is self-care. What felt good for me, what I wanted, what I needed was to postpone sitting down and doing work on my computer and organize my space.
Yep.
Like, it's like that's self-care. Planning vacations is self-care. Getting shit done that you wanna do that you've been putting off because there's fires in front of you,
Yep.
to do those things.
Yep.
Um, and I wanna circle back to this idea of life force energy being our fuel. Like, if there's any message that I'm taking away from this conversation, it is that. Like, we need it to fuel ourselves. And it made me think about the way that in the work that Cal and I do in Powerful Love, one of the first pieces that we teach and coach our clients to start doing is prioritizing powerful states. And that's
Mhm.
our way of saying, like, you can't do this work of relationship transformation or personal liberation, which is a big piece of how we support people in changing their relationships. We got to undo some of the internal stuff that's keeping us stuck. But we don't have that energy, as you're saying, that fuel to do it if we're always just busy.
Yep.
I heard from Sandra Yancey, the founder of eWomen Network,
Mhm.
who heard it from someone else, and I don't remember who it was, but the quote going around in the business world is, for entrepreneurs anyways, that busy is the new stupid. It's like, we can't just be busy. We have, like, it to be successful, there's a shift we must make into intentional. intentionally
Strategic.
focused,
Mhm.
right? On what matters and what's going to move the needle forward in our dreams and desires, which includes our dreams and desires for pleasure, for joy, for spaciousness and
Mhm.
freedom, for the happy and connected relationship we want, in addition to the abundance, to the success, to the harmony in our family that we're looking for. We can't have all of the things that we desire if we are disconnected from ourselves,
Mhm.
if we're disconnected from our love, or no, not love, our life force energy,
Mhm.
and if we don't know what it is that we're trying to go for, what it is that we actually desire that feels in alignment for who we really are. And so that's all got to be part of
Yeah.
the path forward from where we are to where we want to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I thank you so much because I sort of missed a step in making the connection, and you've just made it. It's like, why was I talking about self care and like deciding what you would like to do, in
Mhm.
your life and sexually and whatever, is because that is what then brings joy and relights that fire or re-brings that aliveness and
Yeah.
that life force into your body. And then that does give you more energy. It's not magic. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
superhero power where you can just recharge, but it gives you more. Boy, do I wish. But, it gives you more energy, and more. It's not even necessarily like physical energy, but like capability to engage and to engage well and do what you need to do to get through your life to get it done. The other
Yes.
thing you were just reminding me of, is we've been talking about how women are, and people of color and other marginalized communities are particularly susceptible to
Right.
this because of the oppressive forces. But I would say, like high achieving women,
Mm.
it's even more, in some ways, susceptibility because we are trying so hard to be everything for everybody. We are trying to be, if we have a partner, we're trying to be that great partner. If we have kids, we're trying to be that great parent.
Mhm.
Whatever our income stream is based on, or our jobs, we're trying to be, and again, high achieving. So you're trying to be that CEO, or that top
Mhm.
dog in whatever way is top for you, or your entrepreneurship. And um, and the message continues to be that we should do it all and be able to. And if you can't, or if you start to feel tired of doing it all, there must be something wrong with you.
Right.
But I would say absolutely not. Our social structures are what is wrong. That capitalism is what is wrong. And while I essentially am an entrepreneur, trying to make a living, by making money, it is it's not really where my heart is not in the making money. My heart
Mhm.
is in the
Right.
providing for people,
Yeah.
information and support and ideas, that I think will help change. Like, I do believe, this way that I'm talking is transformational. I think it can especially free or liberate. I really prefer liberation over
Mhm.
freedom.
Mhm.
Liberate individuals, couples, people, and I think it can help our movements for justice. I think it can
Oh,
liberate them into such a healthier way. And again, with all that energy, if we all did it all at once, just imagine how much energy we'd have to fight back against like all the fucked upness in the world right now.
yes, girl, preach. I mean, like, yes. Uh, listen, there's so we could go so far down the rabbit hole on this. I feel like we could talk about it forever. And I'm aware also of our time. Before there's a few things that I want to touch on before we wrap up, Robin. First, like, and you started to go there already, but could you like speak to what becomes possible for the woman or the man or the human listening?
Mhm.
What becomes possible when we move from this disconnected, performing, overfunctioning, non-embodied place,
Yeah.
and into our joy, our life force energy, our sexual liberation? what becomes possible for our lives and for our relationships, for all the things we desire to build.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I did sort of start to go there. I think that getting that reconnection, getting that life force back puts you in a state where you are more joyful kind of all around. The
Mhm.
more you can sort of stay in that embodiedness and keep that, it's almost like feeding the flame is how I sort of see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, see, like in my, in my mind, it's sort of here. I know you can't really see, but down below my stomach, it's like in my lower guts and it's like flaming up. Right.
Mhm.
And sometimes it gets real dim and real small. Right. But when I
Mhm.
feed it, it gets bigger. Right. And, and it's a good flame. It just makes me so much happier in the world. And it reminds me to keep making choices towards joy. And it also illuminates the shoulds more readily so that I can pause and be like, is this a should decision I'm making right now? Um, is there a should versus what I want to do? Like, okay, here's another example. I know we're short on time, but I have not been shaving my legs for years now, because because it's literally actually uncomfortable for me. It's painful. My
Mhm.
legs get really itchy when I shave, and don't try to offer me this lotion and that thing because nothing works. Honestly, I've tried it all.
I'm sure you have.
um, and also, I'm like, fuck society that says that looks better too. So it's both things.
Yeah.
Although I have to admit to you, I still feel like I am ugly because I don't shave my legs sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, and I just started dating someone who was like, her skin was so soft. I was like, oh my God, your skin's so soft. How do you, I was, just on her arm or whatever. And she was like, oh, this blah, 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 blah. And then she was like, and I use this thing to shave my legs. And, not just a regular razor. And I was like, huh. So I asked her if I could borrow it.
Mhm.
And I got home, and a couple days later I had some time and I shaved like the back of my leg, the back of my calf with it where like you wouldn't really see. And I was just like, nope, nope, nope. It still doesn't work. It still doesn't feel good. It still doesn't like get me what I want about it. So nope. So I returned it right away. So
Mhm.
I had the moment though of like, okay, I'll try again. Maybe there's an opening here for something that
Mhm.
I actually want, not because I should do it.
Mhm.
And then I tried it and I was like, easy to be like, nope, I'm letting that go. Right. So it's
Yeah.
like, I think it empowers us to just, yeah, to make better decisions and to maybe see sometimes a little bit more of the shoulds versus our intuition. Like,
Mhm.
again, the bigger that flame is, the easier it is to feel like, what is my body trying to tell me right now?
Mhm.
And I think the other thing is kind of, if we can do it collectively, if a whole group of us are kind of energized to that level, I do think we can really overcome a lot of these oppressive forces and fight back with so much more um, uh, effectiveness. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, and I skipped the middle where it's that you can have much better relationships with people in general.
Yeah.
I don't know if you or your listeners have read Dean Spade's newest book. It's called oh dang it. I hate it when it just flies out of my head. And I know it's in the other room. It's not sitting here at my desk. It's like Love in a Fucked Up World. Love in a Fucked Up World. That's what it is.
Ooh, I haven't read it. I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah, it's a really cool book. It's really good. And he's sort of talking about how a lot of the ways that our dysfunction or the ways that we are raised that have caused us to have patterns get into not just intimate relationships with partners and lovers, but into like the social movements, especially like the small groups that, well,
Mhm.
actually, he's talking more about small groups, but really he's talking about movements, any kind of movement, where we accidentally like reenact all these patterns that are really kind of fucked up from our
Yeah.
childhood, from oppressive forces, from capitalism. And that bogs those relationships and those, movements down. Um,
Mhm.
So if we can instead, you know, connect with that intuition, be fully human, it helps us treat others more humanly and break the cycle, break the patterns, I mean. And all again, it's not magic. It takes a lot of work. Actually, in some ways it's more effortful than just like letting the patterns push you around.
Oh, yeah.
But that feeling, that joy, and that freedom to be who you want to be is worth it for me.
It's so worth it. And the thing is too, like when you say it takes a lot of work, and when I think about work, I like to shift it in my head to think about energy.
Mm.
Right? Like, because that's what work is. It's the energy
Mm-hmm.
output that we need to give to do something, right?
Yeah.
But the idea of work just kind of carries this negative connotation. And so if it takes energy to do this, but doing this gives us more energy, that's a return on investment, right?
Yep.
Like, and that now, if you're spending a significant amount of energy in the beginning to rewire these patterns, right? To break out of the old ones and
Yep.
rewire new ones so that you can feel more alive and have the kind of relationships and the kind of success and the kind of world that you want to live in. Like, then your relationship feels better and feeds you energy. Your success feels better and feeds you energy. The world and communities that you're in feel better and feed you energy. And guess what? We don't have to spend nearly as much energy at all to reconnect to our life force energy. Instead, we just get to live joyfully.
In that
Well,
energy. Yes.
yes, like we
Yes.
call this the upward spiral, right?
Yes.
It's like
Yep.
we break out of this downward doom loop that
Yep.
being disconnected from our bodies and in unhappiness and lack of fulfillment and over functioning and overwhelm and stress and busyness, like it feeds each other, it feeds itself because it drains us of our energy.
Yeah.
And so we all want to go up and we feel ourselves kind of spiraling around the toilet sometimes. And we switch it by choosing, and as you're naming, Robin, like that initial investment of energy to stop the momentum and shift gears.
Yep.
While it might feel slow, it's not overnight. And you've said this a couple of times, it's not instantaneous. And it does shift the direction of our energetics, of our life course, of our relationship course, and starts us in a new pattern that will feed itself from the more and more, from the overflow.
Yep. Yep.
And that's that, like these ideas, and it just, I fucking love this conversation so much, Robin. Like these ideas, they are why I call this the relationship revolutionary, because when we embody this, when we are courageous enough to choose to be alive, to choose to honor ourselves, to choose our pleasure, our desire, our self-care, our spaciousness, our liberation, it is a revolutionary thing. And it absolutely revolutionizes our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It changes everything.
It does. It really does. I agree.
Ah, so good. Okay. So if there was one message that you want to make sure that our listeners walk away with, like one thing you most want the women and men and non-binary folks to hear and remember, what would that be?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I have not prepared for this question. I feel like this sort of theory or whatever you want to call it that I'm laying out is complex. So it's hard to be like, what's the piece that I want you to walk away with? But I think it's to have the courage to reclaim your desire, to reclaim the things you want. And remember, desire, I know we often associate it with sex, but it can be anything.
Yes.
Right? And thus ignite that life force and continue to burn it brighter and brighter, feed it more and more.
Ugh, yes. And it does take courage.
Yes. And everybody, yes, it takes courage. It's effortful or energetically taxing, if you will.
Mhm.
But as
Well,
Dr. Jenny said, yeah,
it breaks the rules
and it breaks the rules.
for a
Yep.
lot of folks in marginalized positions, especially.
Yep.
We're not supposed to. That goes against the systems that want to keep us where
Absolutely.
we're at.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
if it feels hard or you feel resistance or it feels scary, that's normal.
Yep. It does. It takes courage. We have to overcome some of those
Mhm.
norms and those fears.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it alone. There are people like Robin, like myself in this world who would love to help you. And so before I put you backstage, my friend, for those who like are really resonating with you, want to learn more about your work, want to learn how to work with you, can you share how people can find you, how they could work with you? And I believe you have a free offer that you wanted to share with our listeners as well.
Yes. So my website is robinnussbaum.consulting. I know it's weird, not a com or an edu, it's .consulting. And there you can find all sorts of information about my speaking and my workshops, my educational things, and my coaching.
Nice.
So I'm happy to hear from any of you. There's a contact me page there. And I look forward to hearing from you. Also, yes, I have a freebie I'm giving away for you all. It is a PDF of I want to say it the way, a reflection guide for reclaiming desire.
I
So
love that.
one piece, one activity, one of the kinds of activities we talked about that I said, I ask people this, or I ask them to do that. It's one of those that can help you just start to think about what you can reclaim for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks, if you're listening, grab that freebie. I'm certainly going to do so myself. And I will make sure that Robin's website is in the show notes, as well as a link to her freebie. Robin, thank you so much for this conversation, for your time, for your energy, for the work you're doing in this world. It is so important, and I'm so honored that you were here to share that message with my community in this revolutionary mission.
I feel so honored too when you invited me. I was just like, wow, I feel so grateful. I think all of your work is so incredibly important as well. And yeah, this conversation was fun. I wish we could have talked for like a whole day. I feel like there's just so much that was sparking for both of us. I'm
Totally.
sorry, I wanted to add one more thing. If you want to connect with me, another good way is to find Doc Rob Nussbaum, just the way it is on your screen, on LinkedIn. I do have another one for the more HR business that is Robin Nussbaum, but Doc Rob Nussbaum is my sexual liberation work on LinkedIn. So you can look
Awesome.
there too.
I'll have that in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thanks again, Dr. Jenny. I really appreciate it.
You too. Thanks, Robin. Oh, friends, was that not just like so inspiring and hopefully motivating? Like we've all got work to do, and that doesn't mean that there's more to add to our plates. This work of joy is actually about taking less on our plates and allowing ourselves to access what what we really desire so that we can have the fuel to go out into the world and live our greatest lives, to have it all in the ways that are aligned and sustainable. I want to ask you something. If something in this episode landed for you, and I can't imagine that there wasn't if you were listening, can you please subscribe to the Relationship Revolutionary podcast wherever you listen to podcasts? Leave a review on this episode. Share something about what you took away or what it meant for you to hear what Robin had to share. And share this episode with one other woman or person who you know needed to hear Robin's voice today. Your word of mouth, your support of this work helps get this conversation into rooms that Robin and I couldn't get it into without you. And this conversation belongs in every fucking room. If you want to help us at Powerful Love to activate and accelerate this global movement of revolutionizing relationships, make sure that you engage with all of our content. Like, subscribe, comment to our stuff on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. LinkedIn, share about our work, attend our events, and of course, do your part to continue leading with love in your life. If you're looking for a deeper level of support for yourself, please reach out. There are numerous ways that we can support you. I want to tell you about two of them really quickly. The first is a free resource called, which is my masterclass, and it's called the How to Get Your Partner to Finally Show Up the Way That You've Been Asking Without Burning Out Trying to Make It Happen. And yes, I know that is a long title, and I don't care because every word is doing important work. And I want to be clear, this is a masterclass, not a webinar. It's more of an identity activation than anything else. You are going to leave that room understanding yourself, your relationship, and your own power in a way that changes what you do next and sets you up to get more of what you've been asking for in your relationship with less energy and effort in getting it and a whole lot more success, right? So the link to that masterclass, it's perfect. It's entirely free. It's in the description. It is part of my mission to support 1 million women and people in this world in revolutionizing their relationships. So I'm going to be doing this masterclass frequently. So if you can't make the next date, check back in a couple of weeks, and there will probably be a new date available to register and sign up. Don't miss it. This is a really powerful conversation. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the Third Path program. This is for those of you who know you want to go deeper and get support in your own relationship, growing and healing and elevation journeys. If you're ready to take the next step, the Third Path is where we start, right? Whether you end up working with us at a higher level or just going through the Third Path program, the Third Path is always the starting point. So the Third Path is a 6-week program where you will learn how to approach your relationship from a place of power, sovereignty, alignment, liberation, and a much greater relational effectiveness. This is a program for the woman who doesn't want to keep staying stuck, but also doesn't want to leave the relationship. The third way is the way forward that actually honors who you are and what you deserve. And it doesn't mean that you are pushing harder or waiting for your partner to finally get it. It doesn't mean that you are over-functioning and doing all the work yourself. And I'll say that this program is designed to work even if your partner's not doing the work with you. And yes, there's a way, even if they're not in this work with you, to create these changes without doing it all, over-functioning, overworking. Because we don't need, for women especially, we don't need more relational labor added to our plate. I'm not about that, okay? So the Third Path is $2,222 for that program. I will drop the link in the show notes as well, so you can learn more about that if that's something that you're interested in. It's open enrollment. It starts as soon as you sign up. So please join us. Let's create some real change in your relationship. That's all I've got for us today, my friends. I hope that you will join us for our next conversation in the Love Alive. God, I keep forgetting but July, right? Where we're talking about joy and living alive. That's what we're talking about this month. And next week, we have another amazing guest to bring us into our joy and life force. New episodes of these Catalyst Conversations drop every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. Until then, dear one, keep leading with love.